Have you ever knowingly met with any members, leaders, or affiliates of Hezbollah?
No, and it is an absurd accusation.
Oh, the clown show that is the Senate confirmation hearings of Trump's various cabinet picks or high-level picks. This one, obviously, for Tulsi Gabbard as, what's she called? Director of National Intelligence. That's the role, I believe. And I don't really watch these hearings much at all, but I see some clips, and these senators, all they do is grandstand. It's actually embarrassing, to be honest. Frankly, it's just so unserious, so very, very unserious. It really makes me think. Well, it doesn't make me think. It confirms me in my belief that the United States is just an empire, a global empire in decline. But who knows? Who knows what will happen? We're on the Megyn Kelly show today. Megyn Kelly's got Charlie Kirk as her guest, and they are going to talk about the Tulsi Gabbard confirmation hearing. So let's get into it and see what they have to say.
An hour plus of the Tulsi hearing, and it was rather disheartening. I did not feel encouraged about her chances by the time I was done. But then later, I felt encouraged when I heard what Susan Collins, who is this, kind of Democrat masquerading as a Republican from Maine, said about her impressions. I mean, Trump lost her on Hegseth. I don't think he's going to get her on RFKJ. I don't know. But here's what I saw when she cross-examined Tulsi yesterday. Let's start there. Look at this exchange in SOT 9.
Have you ever knowingly met with any members, leaders, or affiliates of Hezbollah?
No, and it is an absurd accusation.
Okay, so there's Tulsi pushing back on her. The cross-examination by Susan Collins wasn't particularly aggressive, but it kind of sounded like that. You could argue that she was just giving her a chance to respond to the things that have been alleged about her, but you could hear Tulsi sort of taking issue with even the suggestion. Well, after the fact, Collins said, I was happy with her responses to my questions. That, too, is a little ambiguous. What does that mean? Like you were happy she fully answered them? Or you liked what you heard? But I think it's somewhat positive. Net, I don't think she would have used the word happy if she were going to vote against her. Now, that doesn't answer the question of whether Tulsi gets through, because there were a lot of Republican senators there who seemed not like fans of Tulsi's. Cornyn of Texas, Langford of Oklahoma, they did not seem like fans, Charlie. And she certainly had a few Democrats who seemed very against her. So what do you think is going to happen with Tulsi?
So a couple thoughts on this. I will defend Susan Collins. She represents a very, very difficult state. She's almost always there when we need her, and that's an important thing. And so I think she's getting the call of like, hey, we might need you for this one. Understand, we did not need her for Hegseth. And so, I mean, of course, we got to a tie. We had J.D. Vance break the tie. Pete Hegseth is now the Secretary of Defense. And she represents a goofy state. For some of these other senators that represent deep red states, there is no excuse and there is no place to hide. But let's understand what she's actually trying to become or what she's applying for. The Director of National Intelligence. This is a relatively new role. It hasn't been around for very long. It was created post 9/11 to actually be the connective tissue between all of the intelligence agencies. It actually is above the Central Intelligence Agency, above the CIA. It has power that has not really been exercised for quite some time. DNI is the custodian of the nation's secrets. It is the keeper of secrets. From all the things that our government is doing that they don't want us to always know what they're doing. And the most pressing, of course, that matters to those of us that are Trump supporters is there another soft coup being run through Five Eyes to try to thwart a sitting president of the United States, like what happened during the first administration during Russiagate with Christopher Steele and the dirty dossier to spy on President Trump to try to go after him, and using the FBI and using secret SCIFs and using outside firms like Fusion GPS? Is something like that happening again? And the Director of National Intelligence will be able to tell you yes or no and stop it if it's actually happening in real time. Tulsi Gabbard is an extraordinary person. Her vet file came back like clean, clean, clean. She actively has a top-level security clearance, a TSSCI. She serves in the military. She was a former Democrat, which makes this even more interesting because she has been so focused on trying to reorient American foreign policy to a America First standpoint, not one of neo-globalist, internationalist wars and nation building at every single corner and every turn. Now, why is it that her confirmation is the hardest of all of them? Well, because the intel agencies are so resistant to any change, and a lot of these senators, to be perfectly honest, have been fed BS by these intel agencies for so long and acting as if that they've done nothing wrong and we can't reform them and it's jeopardizing national security. Well, on the other side of it, how much damage has our intel agencies done? We invaded Iraq, wrongly, by the way, because of faulty intelligence on weapons of mass destruction. We got...
Yeah, very good point. It seems to me that the intelligence community is just completely out of hand. It's sort of much like the federal government as a whole, which is just insanely over bloated and out of control and unsupervised and, just running amok. I would say the same with the intelligence community. I mean, how many intelligence agencies are there in the United States? Something like 19 or something? It's insane. I mean, it was bad enough when it was just the CIA and the NSA. But that brings up a point, actually. I think one thing Trump should do, I have no idea if he has even mentioned this. An important thing he should do would be work to repeal, or whatever. What is it, repealing? Well, overturn, get rid of the Patriot Act, whatever the correct word is, to repeal it or whatever, or rescind it or abrogate it, because it was since the introduction of the Patriot Act. I mean, things were bad enough before that anyway, in terms of surveillance and, intelligence and dodgy intelligence agencies and all the nonsense the U.S. government got up to. But it's completely out of control now. It's ridiculous. So that would be one thing. I think most Americans, whatever side of the aisle you're on, most Americans should, I think, approve of that. If you rescinded or overturned the Patriot Act and everything that arose as a result of it, that would be a fantastic win for Trump and the Republicans if they could do that.
Got involved in Libya, something we never should have gotten involved in, which turned into the Libyan civil war because we were told Muammar Gaddafi is like the worst person on the planet. Or how about all the faulty intelligence in the Russian-Ukrainian war, or the faulty intelligence that we've seen all across the Middle East and Syria, or in parts of Lebanon? What Tulsi Gabbard wants to do is restore the integrity of the nation's intelligence service. Now, there's some interesting elements in here, and I've been really hammering this, unsuccessfully, by the way. I think it's outrageous that they're not doing this vote in public. It is the only agency official where, I think the CIA maybe, but that one wasn't as controversial, where they go into a SCIF, a secure compartmentalized information facility, and they do this vote outside of the public eye. And I think that's outrageous. I think when you're trying to elect somebody who's a lifelong transparency advocate, and you're going to go into a secret facility and we can't see how the actual members vote, I find that to be repulsive. I think people should be incensed about that. I think that our elected officials should not operate in the shadows, that they should tell you how they vote.
Yeah, very good point by Charlie Kirk there. I agree 100%. I think every single thing done by every elected official should be 100% transparent, with very, very few exceptions. Obviously, there are some national security concerns for some things. But certainly votes on bills and all that should be, just votes on everything. Hell, I think every single meeting, especially by federal officials, it should all be just 100% transparent. And if it were 100% transparent, everything they vote on, who all their donors are, the exact amounts they get, there should be like a website where you can easily see all this stuff. And, you could even have an app where it's updated, ping, ping, ping. You get these notifications when when some congressman accepts another multi-million-dollar donation from some rich donor, like a corrupt, you wouldn't call him corrupt or anything, just show everything. And if everything were 100% transparent, imagine there would be far fewer people vying to get into, there'd be far fewer people running for congressman or senator. Because if everything were transparent and above board, then yeah, there would be less, less of these shady, dark areas to maneuver and do shady things. I think that would be fantastic.
And
They
so
work
just to
for us.
reiterate, when they actually end up voting for Tulsi Gabbard, this will not be like how they vote for Bobby Kennedy, where they sit out and they say, aye, nay, aye. Okay, the ayes have it, goes out of committee. They go into a secret room where no cell phones, no staff, only members are allowed in a secure compartmentalized information facility, and they'll say, well, what do we think about Tulsi? And they'll take the vote, and they could decide to make the results public, or they could lie about the results, or they could do vote trading. I think the front page of a certain newspaper says democracy dies in darkness. Hey, Washington Post, any interest in this one? Where our elected senators are going into a skiff to go determine the future of who is the custodian of our nation's secrets? If that is not darkness, what is darkness?
Oh, well, the Washington Post and all the other liberal media are busy having complete and utter meltdowns every single day since the start of Donald Trump's second term, of course. And yeah, he's doing his shock and awe offensive, which is working fantastic as far as I can see, because they're all melting down, So the last thing they're going to talk about is the lack of transparency and democracy, and just that Charlie Kirk is talking about, obviously. But anyway, it's kind of interesting. It'll be interesting to see if Tulsi Gabbard does get approved, and also what happens with some of Donald Trump's other nominations. But in the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments. And if you like this kind of content, please like and subscribe. And I will see you in the next video.